Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Church of Edmonton. I'm not on? Okay. My name is Jeff Bisanz. My pronouns are he, his, him, among others. And I have the privilege of being your service leader this morning. I will be joined shortly by our minister, Rev Rosemary Morrison, and by others who are involved in this service. This morning, others includes a guest speaker, Whitney Haynes from Education for All and the Alberta Association for Research and Education. And she's brought along two experts in this area by the name of Deanna and Ariana. They'll be speaking later. We hope that you in the sanctuary, you who are visiting, you who are online, and you watching at some future date on YouTube, we hope that all of you feel welcome. Whatever your heritage, whatever your faith, whomever you love, however you identify, you are welcome here. I should note that for those of you who are new here, this church is one of two Unitarian Universalist churches in Edmonton, the other being the Westwood congregation in the Park Allen neighborhood. We're grateful to all the volunteers who make this service possible. The list includes the greeters and ushers here in the sanctuary, all the people who work to deliver this service online, and those who created this service with words, music, and images. As for cell phones, please speak kindly with your devices and ask them just to listen for the next 75 minutes. Now, to get this service off to a stimulating start, let's have some announcements. First, Jan McMillan.
Good morning. Along with Ruth Marriott and John Turvey, I'm on our Church Endowment Committee. Each fall, we take this opportunity to tell you or jog your memory about our fund. Our endowment fund was set up many years ago to provide financial stability independent of annual fundraising events. There are three ways that this fund grows. One is by direct donation. I know our friend Dorothy Keeler always made many donations to this fund whenever someone close to her died. We have received $1,654 to this fund this year by these direct donations. Many of you would like to think about a long-term investment to our church on Giving Tuesday rather than spending money on Black Friday. The second way the fund grows is that the interest is earned, rolls back into the fund. In the past 2 years, that has earned over $6,500. But of course, the most effective way for this fund to grow is to make a bequest in your will. And I would encourage you to pick up one of these special pamphlets that are always available at the main door to the sanctuary, and there's an envelope even too. So thanks for your attention in this matter.
Thank you, Jan. Maria?
Good morning. My name is Maria Odekirk. My pronouns are she and her, and along with my husband Clinton, I am part of the hospitality team for the church. We are having a pancake breakfast in 2 weeks, which is the 23rd of November, and there are sign-up sheets on the membership table. Here's what we're looking for. First of all, we're going to need to source as many plug-in countertop griddles as we can get. So if you have one at home and are willing to loan it to us, that would be awesome. We are going to need people to actually make the pancakes. That will probably have you working through the service so that food is ready when the people are. We're also looking for 1 or 2 people to be our kitchen coordinators. Now, I have made pancakes a grand total of twice in my life, so I would really love it if someone who is a little wiser in the ways of pancakes would step up and actually run the kitchen for us that morning. We're also looking, of course, as always, for a setup crew and a tear down and cleanup crew. So we're going to need some people to do dishes, some people to move furniture, all those good things. So please do sign up. That's 2 weeks from now on the 23rd of November.
Thank you, Brian. I mentioned that's the week of the CUC presentation here in class, in the room. Declan.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Declan Kiley. My pronouns are he, him. I'm here once again to tell you about the movie night. We are back up and running for the month of November. So we host a monthly movie night for free here in the sanctuary the last Friday of every month. And this month we will be watching The Gift, which has been described as an expertly crafted psychological character-driven movie starring Jason Bateman, Rebecca Hall, and Joel Edgerton. So, if that sounds interesting, we will be screening that movie here on November 28th at 6 p.m. So come on down, bring a snack and a drink, because we're not providing any of that. We just showed the movie. But it's free, so please. And we have a discussion.
Thank you, Declan. Talia?
Hi everyone, I'm Talia. My pronouns are she, her. If you're interested to write your MLA or the Premier or the Education Minister or anyone else in government, I have some postcards and some talking points and a computer, and I can look them up, and I'll be outside in the sanctuary, and I will do all the stamps and mailing and everything like that. So come meet me if you have a moment or two after the service.
Whatever reason would we have to write those people? Donna?
Good morning. This is just a quick reminder from Larry, Sherrick, and I that after the service we are going to have a meeting regarding the memorial, recognition of our deceased past members of the church and possibly friends of the church. So those of you who have expressed an interest, please stay and we will have a quick meeting, and I have some handouts to give from the board for those of you who maybe didn't print what I sent out on the email. Thanks.
Thank you, Donna. David?
Many of you know that I have a goal of a better world, a peaceful world, in which every human on the planet has enough to live comfortably and has a goal of an even better world for future generations. I believe that one of the us versus them thinking found in and exacerbated by social media bubbles is perhaps one of the greatest challenges of modern times. To address this, I'm planning a series of events intended to address polarizing issues, foster greater openness, empathy, and inform public discourse. And the first event is going to be actually tomorrow evening at 7 p.m. at the Ukrainian Center, 111 Avenue and 97th Street. I will have invitations and stuff like this available for anybody who's interested. Thank you. Question? The topic is Alberta separation.
Okay, thank you, David. I think we have one more announcement, Reverend Rosemary, but I think this is a record number of announcements.
I think it is a record. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. That's better. My name is Rev Rosemary Morrison, she, her pronouns, and I have some announcements. So on the 23rd is the service of the 23rd is the culmination of the regional fall gathering. So if you are interested in attending any of the other events that the fall gathering that the Canadian Unitarian Council is putting on, go to cuc.ca and you can sign up. It's free, of course, but you'll be with other Unitarians from across the country learning and being together. There's we've decided to try a 50-50 draw. There's posters and QR codes all over. It's on our Facebook page. It's everywhere. Please, if you like to win money, give generously. And there was something else. Darn it. Should write things down. That's it for now.
You'll have another chance. Okay, thank you, everybody. It's almost time for the service to end now, so we'll do a... We gather with gratitude this morning on Treaty 6 territory in Region 4 of the Métis Nation of Alberta. We recognize that a treaty is an inheritance, a responsibility, and a relationship. May this recognition help us be good neighbors to one another, good stewards to our planet, and good ancestors to all our children. One of the reasons we have land acknowledgements like the one I just gave is because of the work of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, which concluded its work almost exactly 10 years ago. The TRC hit us all over the head with the realization that if there's ever to be reconciliation, there had to be an awareness of the challenges created by our shared histories. The chair of the TRC was Murray Sinclair, who died almost exactly 1 year ago. He was an extraordinary public figure, so incredibly understanding and wise, and also so committed to deep changes, not superficial adjustments. Recently, I read his memoir, Who We Are, 4 Questions for a Life and a Nation. The memoir is interesting, and what really blew me away was the last 40% of the book, at least in the edition I read, which consists of a document about the principles of reconciliation and the history of residential schools. It's called the What We Have Learned report. I had read the 94 calls to action and had actually attended one of the TRC events in Edmonton, but still the document about principles and history pulled the pieces together for me. I realize it's not a dispassionate, complete history, but it helps us become more aware of the challenges then and now. This relatively short document probably is not a substitute for reading the tomes that have been produced by the TRC, but I found it to be a really compelling take on our history, and I recommend it highly. Our service will get underway now with music selected by Karen. It's weather-appropriate music called Flusters and Breezes.
Thank you, Karen. That was lovely. We are here this morning gathered to take a moment out of our rushed and headlong lives to do this for ourselves, a chance to relax, to renew, to nurture our spirits, our minds, our bodies. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being here online as well here in the sanctuary. I'm going to invite Jeff to light our chalice for us with these words by Reverend Richard Gilbert. It's a little bit longer one, and it's his take on Dag Hammarskjold's phrase that he coined: each morning we must hold out the chalice of our being to receive, to carry, and to give back. That's Dag's words, and here's Reverend Gilbert's. Each morning we hold out our chalice of being to be filled with the graces of life that abound: air to breathe, food to eat, companions to love, beauty to behold, art to cherish, causes to serve. They come in ritual procession, these gifts of life. Whether we deserve them, we cannot know or say, for they are poured out for us. Our task is to hold steady the chalice of our being. We carry the chalice with us wherever we go, either meandering aimlessly or with destination in our eye. We share its abundance if we have any sense, reminding others as we remind ourselves of the contents of the chalice we don't deserve. Water from living streams fills it if we only hold it faithfully. We give back, if we can, something of ourselves, some love, some beauty, some grace, some gift. We give back in gratitude, if we can. Something like what is poured into our chalice of being for those who abide with us and will follow each morning. We hold out the chalice of our being to receive, to carry, to give back. And as we begin our service, I would invite us to sing a kind of a wake-up call or a wake-up song. We'll rise in body or in spirit and sing together, "Morning Has Come." It's got a nice, good beat to it, so enjoy. That's a good one, isn't it? Today is Armistice Sunday, and I always like to take a minute in a service, whether we are fashioning the service completely around the fact that it's the closest Sunday to Remembrance Day, or not. So I just want to say a couple of things, and then I'm going to invite Doug Eastwell to come up and share a poem with us that he wrote that is appropriate for this time, and then we'll have a moment of silence afterwards as we remember. My dad was part of the liberating troops of Holland in the Second World War. He was part of the 8th Saskatchewan Reconnaissance, and he spoke very proudly. He didn't talk much about the war, but it affected him deeply. He was a wireless operator on the European front, so he was very close to battle lines and was injured. He had shrapnel wounds up his leg, which he very rarely wore shorts, but it was interesting, and it was like, what is that? His time in Holland, he spoke with such pride, and he used to talk about the kids in Holland, and the troops were given candies, and they were able to give candies to the kids, and he said their eyes would roll into the back of their heads. They'd never tasted anything quite like it. He said they were told to keep the tanks moving. He said, but we would have run over the kids. We would have run over people. And so they didn't, obviously. But the Dutch people forever have been so grateful to the Canadian troops for their work in Holland in liberating the Dutch people. We're talking today about education for all. Education is as a right. It's one of the human rights for the children in the UN human rights. And that's what my dad fought for, is for these kinds of rights, these civil rights. That's what I lost my uncle to. And so today we're going to hear from Doug and then have a moment of silence. But we're also going to hear about the fact that there are people here that aren't able to go to school, children that aren't able to go to school, and that is what the presentation today is going to be about. So I think it really ties in well with Armistice Sunday. This is what our people fought for, was freedom. Doug?
Good morning. I'm Doug Eastwell, pronouns he, him. And what we're talking about is, as Reverend Rosemary said, this is the nearest Sunday to Remembrance Day. And there was sort of an interesting thing happened to me several years ago. I was out in Victoria on Vancouver Island, and it was myself, Patricia, my wife, and a very dear friend of mine who I've known like forever, an artist. We were driving around on a road trip. And we saw these strange-looking things on the horizon. And I thought, being from a construction background, I thought, those are the weirdest columns I've ever seen. I'm wondering who's going to put that together. So we got closer to it, and we looked into it a little bit more. And we found out what it really was. It was actually a memorial to the lost air crew that were stationed out of what's now Victoria International, but back then it was Pat Bay Airfield. It was commissioned in '36, and basically these were people they were trainees. These were never actually, most of these people had no combat experience at all, and they were kids. And that was the thing, as we walked through the group, it was just, you notice these names, and then you notice the ages, as you can see, like 23, 21, 20, and you're thinking, my God, that guy hadn't even lived, and already he's dead. And on top of that, these were, for the most part, these were training accidents, just kind of goofy things that flew into mountains, flew into the ocean, flew into another plane. I ran into a few of those. And what had happened was, in honor of this, the BC Air Museum had commissioned a local sculptor to put together these feathers. There's 25 of them, and they represent, he used Cooper's hawk flight feathers as the basis, because Cooper hawks apparently are very agile in the air. They're about 12 feet high. He made them out of Corten steel, which, for those who aren't technically involved in steel, it's an odd material. It rusts very quickly, but if you leave the rust on it, it never continues to rust. It'll never fail. And the names and the ages are on it, as I said. The other thing was, there's about 180 names, surprisingly. And it was stunning, is really what it was. And as I was thinking about it, I remembered, I could never place it for the longest time, but there was sort of a tradition, or a tradition I'd run into about you actually die twice. And I could never place where it came from. It actually came from Ernest Hemingway. And what he said about it was, every man has two deaths. When he is buried in the ground and the last time someone says his name. In some ways, some men become immortal. And I thought this was a really nice concept. So I sat down, just kind of thought about it, and I ended up writing this little effort called Feathers. Existence ends in two stages. The first stage occurs when the heart stops and biological activity ceases. The second stage occurs when the name is said out loud for the very last time. Young people came together to serve king and country and to fly with the birds. Sadly, some failed to defy gravity and perished. The second stage can be deferred. The names of dead aircrew are written in flame on large metal feathers. For corrosion resistance, special Cor-10 steel. For the design, a Raptor Cooper's Hawk flight feather. The names are grouped with their missing colleagues. I walked through the maze of engraved feathers. There are too many feathers and far too many names. I imagine 180 lives that could have been, and I become saddened. I note the ages, and I say their names. I have extended their existence, at least for a little while. Hopefully, someone will follow in my footsteps and repeat this ritual. Hopefully, there will not be a reason to add more feathers in the future.
Thank you, Doug. Let's take 1 minute of silence, please.
Thanks for that poem and the thoughts behind it, Doug. We move now to sharing our abundance. Our church community is entirely self-governing and self-supporting. One of the responsibilities of our free church tradition is we provide all the financial support for the work of our church. We also make a monthly cash contribution beyond our walls. 1/2 of the unidentified cash that is received is given to an outside organization. For the month of November, that organization is the food bank. Everyone here knows about the food bank, about the extraordinary work that the food bank does, including work way beyond just distributing food, about our congregation's involvement in the food bank, and about the catastrophic increase in demands being placed on the food bank here and across the country. Karen gave us a thorough summary last week. I've been around long enough to remember when the food bank was just getting started. The idea was that it would be a stopgap measure for relatively few number of families in need. Instead, and unfortunately, it has become an essential, almost institutional part of our community. I'm sure all of us would want to live in an Edmonton that had no need for a food bank. Until that time comes, the Edmonton Food Bank and all the people it helps to support deserves and needs our support. So thank you, ushers, for collecting money. Thanks very much for your support there. Please join in singing From You I Receive. There we go. Our theme of the month is nurturing gratitude. I'm going to nurture gratitude in you by making my service leader reflections mercifully short. I just want to make 2 points. The first is that Tuesday is Remembrance Day, the name used in Commonwealth countries for the day we set aside to acknowledge and honor the members of the armed forces who died in the line of duty. I remember observing Remembrance Day after arriving in Canada. It was all about gratitude for sacrifices made, not about flag waving or the glory of war or about bands in street parades. It was respectful, reflective, and quiet, except for the bagpipes. It was one of the earliest markers that Canada, for me, it was one of the earliest markers that Canada might be a good fit for me as an immigrant. I found myself feeling grateful for the way that we express our gratitude. I hope you take some time on Tuesday to think about the sacrifices made and what gratitude for those sacrifices mean to you. The second point stems from the very thoughtful and evocative comments Karen made last week about the nature of gratitude. At some point, she said something about the value in being grateful to those who make us attend to things we care about, but that we fail to notice. I know that one thing people in this congregation care about is injustice. 2 weeks ago, a woman from Education for All told us about the fact that undocumented immigrant and refugee children are being prohibited from attending school in Alberta. This policy can only be described as a very stupid and short-sighted form of injustice. I'm grateful that we got that message, and I'm especially grateful that Ariana, Diana, and Whitney are here today to tell us more. Karen also said something about how feeling grateful can sometimes cause us to feel connected to something larger and more important than ourselves. I hope that this service causes us to feel those kinds of connection as we think about Remembrance Day and as we think about the people who are trying to right the wrong being imposed on undocumented children in our midst. Our next hymn is number 299 in the Great Hymnal, Make Channels for the Streams of Love. The lyrics come from a man who was a gifted poet and eventually an Anglican archbishop in England in the 1800s. And speaking of possibly undocumented immigrants and refugees, his maternal grandparents had fled to England from France to escape religious persecution of Protestants. So please rise as you're willing and able to sing number 299, Make Channels for the Streams of Love.
I'd like to introduce our speaker, Whitney Haynes. She is the executive director of AWARE, and she will tell you what that acronym stands for. Whitney brings over a decade of experience working with undocumented and migrant worker communities in Canada, Asia, and Europe. She has academic and grassroots knowledge of global migration and labor policies. Whitney, I invite you up, and then you are going to bring your people to, she's brought two young people that are also going to speak with us today. So welcome, Whitney.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'd want to introduce to you Deanna and Ariana, and they're going to lead us off to share their stories. So Ariana, if you want to go first. They're both strong activists in Alberta. They've spoken in Edmonton and Calgary. Diana's gone to Ottawa, all on the issue of education for all, which we will talk about today. Okay, go ahead.
Hello everyone, today I want to talk a bit about my story. So my family, a few years ago, my family and I went through a very difficult time. We came to Canada 6 years ago, but in 2022, we lost our status. After that, everything became harder. CVC came to our house twice, and both times we had to hide and move to a new place. My parents lost their jobs, and we didn't know where we could stay next. My 3 siblings were removed from school, and I was scared that I would lose my chance to study too. They haven't been able to go to school for 2 years now, but things have gotten better. The campaign has helped us so much and given us hope again. Now my campaign is working really hard to make sure my sibling and other kids like them can get the education they deserve. It's so important for kids to be in school because it wasn't our choice to move to another country. Not being able to study can set us behind in our education, but it also affects our mental health. Every child deserves the chance to learn, grow, and feel safe at school.
Hello everyone, good morning. My name is Diana and I'm an 18-year-old. I'm 13 years old and an undocumented youth. I'm the oldest of 2 siblings, and today I'm gonna share something that has shaped my life in different ways in my life. Most people will never understand. In 2022, I lost my immigration status. Everything changed overnight. I have 2 siblings, and even though we were all young, we were suddenly living with a fear that no child should ever have to carry. My siblings were terrified, and I felt like I had to be strong for them. Even when I was just scared. From that moment on, I fear become part of our daily life. I was scared to go to school. I was scared to walk outside. Even if we saw a police car, we had to hide. Even when someone knocked the door, or we knocked on the door, our hearts would stop. We lived not just with a worry, with real fear of being taken separately or sent away. My family have moved houses again and again. I was trying to stay ahead. I was trying to stay invisible. We weren't just avoiding immigration. We were running from them for a long time. Sorry. Every day it felt like a chase, even when no one was behind us. The fear stayed on our bodies. Because of all of this, I couldn't go to school for almost 8 months. 8 months of loss of education, lost friendships, lost normal life. I watched other people live freely while I was feeling trapped in a situation I didn't choose and I couldn't control. All I wanted was to feel safe again. And even today, we're still undocumented. That fear hasn't gone away. Fairly recently, my brother's principal asked for my brother's papers, and all those memories and emotions came rushing back. It reminded us that no matter how much passes, we are still living uncertainty. I'm sharing this because this experience didn't just interrupt my life, they changed me, they forced me to grow up fast, they taught me what fear really feels like, but also what resilience is. I'm still here, I'm still trying, I'm still fighting for a future with my family. With my family doesn't have to hide. I tell my story not just for hiding, but so people can understand this reality of what many families like mine live through. I hope one day we can feel safe, stable, and finally at peace. Thank you.
Thank you. This is working? Okay. Hey, thank you, Ariana and Diana. They both have been the most outspoken youth on this issue and have really been advocating for everyone in this situation in Alberta and across Canada. So I just wanted to share a couple, some information about the Education for All campaign with all of you. If can have the slides. That works. Yeah, the next slide. So our organization is part of the International Migrants Alliance. It's a global grassroots alliance of grassroots migrants, refugees, and displaced people. There are over 200 organizations. This, as Jeff said, this, being undocumented and escaping poverty and violence is not, doesn't just happen here. It happens everywhere. It's happened throughout history. But we're talking about what's happening now. So next slide. So we've shared the two stories of Diana and Ariana, and I'm going to share a third story later of Carlos. I'll go to the next slide. So I'm sure most of you know why people leave their home countries and cannot go back. You can click through this slide. So the first one is economic migration. We know there are rising levels of inequality. There's also labor export policies. So one model example right now that poor countries are using is in the Philippines, where there's actually government departments and policies in place to ship migrant workers, ship their people abroad to work for rich countries and rich people, and this turns people into a commodity to be sold, and Canada is one of the recipients of these people as commodities. And they're here as cheap labor to uphold our economy. Next point. So people are also escaping war and violence. And then the last is climate change. We're seeing more and more people needing to escape all the issues of climate change. Next slide. So how specifically do you become undocumented in Canada? you want to click through. So usually this involves a temporary visa that has expired. So we have different temporary programs here. The first one is if you're an international student. We're seeing this in the media a lot right now. So you could come here, maybe you can't afford to keep paying the fees. You're recruited by an institution that doesn't allow you to get permanent residency after graduating. There's been a few of these scam institutions in Alberta that accept hundreds of thousands of dollars from students, and then the students have no money and they cannot go back home. You could also come to Canada as a tourist. In both of these situations, and also for temporary foreign workers, there are often agents that are making a lot of money, that are telling people, if you come to Canada as a tourist or as an international student, we're going to find you work, and we're going to get you a work permit and permanent residency. You just have to give us $20,000. We've had people say up to $100,000. So the people that are being preyed upon are often in poor countries, and they sell everything that they have to come here for a better life, and then they can be stuck here because the government of Canada has changed policies, or the agent lied, or life has happened and things have changed. We all know about the temporary foreign worker program. This is where agents make a lot of money. There's not really a crackdown on agents. There's often a crackdown on the workers. So sometimes workers cannot complete their work requirements, so you usually have to work 1 or 2 years. We've had women that get pregnant. They cannot complete these requirements. They could be abused by an employer if they do not, because you're bonded to the employer, you cannot change employers. It's very difficult for you to escape. If you do change employers, you're not going to be able to get permanent residency unless anyway, it's very complicated. And then the last is being a denied refugee claimant. So you've come here seeking safety, but Canada has decided that it is still safe for you to return back to your country, even though you know that it is not. This is not, it's not a, I always try to say that people do not choose to become undocumented. It's not an easy life where you don't have access to health care or education for your kids and workers' rights. It's not an easy life. Next, and we're not seeing a lot of unauthorized border crossings. This is what people always think about. Maybe this will change in the future, but the main ways that people become undocumented in Canada are the temporary visas expiring. Next slide. So we want to make sure that we never use the word illegal to talk about someone that's lost their immigration status. You can click through this slide. This makes people, it makes everyone think that people are criminals when they're just trying to escape poverty or violence. And it leads people to not even want to volunteer with us because they think they're doing a criminal act. You can go to the next slide. So these are the advertisements that Canada uses abroad to try to bring people here as cheap labor, and agents use this as well. Also, of course, for international students to subsidize our education system. And we always talk about how if you offer a job or an educational opportunity to someone who's living in poverty or violence, but you have all these conditions attached where they have to pay a lot of money, sometimes they have to leave their children behind, and you have to be bonded to an employer or to an institution. We question, who is this helping? Because Canada often says, we're helping poor people, but we analyze this as we are helping Canada's economy and the bringing in cheap labor to support our economy. If you can keep going. Yeah, and you know, I'm sure people have seen that the UN has said the temporary foreign worker program is a modern day form of slavery. You can go to the next slide. If we're specifically talking now about education, so if everyone understands how the global aspect works here, Diana and Ariana have already explained to you the fear of going to school, of telling anyone their situation, of being followed to school, or being removed from school. There's also can be a lot of stress at home. And the last is, there's a lot of isolation. People just feeling scared to talk to other people. We have kids that stay at home, and they're not interacting with other kids. They're too scared to be able to go out, and they're not allowed to be in school. So just a timeline of our campaign. So in 2023, we first learned about Ariana's brother and 2 sisters that were removed from school. We had meetings with the Edmonton Public School Board, which they agreed to meet with us, but then they wouldn't do anything. The Edmonton Catholic School Board refused to meet with us. We met with the provincial government. They're not doing anything. We held a conference to start building a coalition of allies. Then in 2020, a year ago, Diana and Ariana were speakers for the Edmonton Public School Board hearings. So they have taken action saying they want children in this situation to go to school, but they will not let them in without funding from the province. The school boards have the authority, as we understand it, to let these kids in without funding, but they refuse to do that. And the province will not provide the funding. We've started a petition. There's a petition at your entranceway that you can sign to change the Alberta Education Act because it clearly discriminates based on immigration status. This is different in other provinces where all children in BC and Ontario are all allowed to go to school. It doesn't matter what status they have. You can keep going. So, and then we've been presenting at different organizations to try to raise awareness now and to try to get more solidarity. We're getting more and more kids being removed. We're meeting 2 families this afternoon that have children removed. I spoke to a principal on Friday it was nice to speak to a principal because usually they're too scared to talk about this, and he's from the Elk Island School District, and he was trying to figure out how to support these kids that the provincial system has flagged that do not have their status and should be removed. Next slide. Yeah, so this is just the legal aspect of the Education Act, if some of you are legal people, where it specifically discriminates against who is allowed to go to school. So you have to be a resident of Alberta, and the parents need to be residents of Canada. If you click again, there's a section there where the board can charge a tuition fee for non-resident students, and we're asking them to charge $1, which they won't do. And as I said, in other provinces, if you click through this slide, they have sanctuary school policies where all children are allowed to go to school. And they also won't share information with federal immigration authorities because they want to protect the children. And because they believe, so in BC, they believe every child deserves to receive our support, no matter what life circumstances brought them to live in our community. In Ontario, their Education Act for the province is very clear that no one can be refused admission. So because of their parent or guardian not being unlawfully in Canada. So this is very different than Alberta. If you want to go next. So now what are we doing? I'm talking about raising awareness with you, and I don't want to take all your time if you keep going. So we've gone to the media. Ariana and Diana have spoken to the media. They're in newspaper articles. If you keep going. We have this petition, like I said, is at the front. We don't imagine this petition is going to change the Education Act, but it's a way for us to raise awareness and get people involved. So we're going to be tabling the petition this month in the legislature. We need people to come to the legislature that day for support. It's hard to get people to come because it's a work day, but if people have that day off, it would be great for some of you to attend. We're working on a letter writing campaign that we can share with everyone here. We're trying to explore legal avenues on how the Education Act is discriminatory under the Canadian Charter, but we need contacts with lawyers that will do this research pro bono. So if anyone has contacts, that would be great. We're starting a Dreamers Freedom School. So we're trying to see if we can get the kids that have been removed, bring them together at least once or twice a week to learn together. And we're looking for volunteers and space and donations of school supplies, craft supplies, books, laptops. We have a short film that's going to be released close to International Human Rights Day, and we can invite you for the film launch. And it's all the kids speaking out against what they're facing in Edmonton. And I'll show you a short clip of it at the end if we have time. And next. So yeah, this is just to summarize what we can do, which I've kind of already said. Just click through the whole slide. So you can email your MP, MLA, trustee. We're really trying to talk with principals and teachers, but I know someone was up here before about talking to, bringing letters to the provincial government, because the teachers and principals are very scared right now. They're very scared for us to even communicate with us about this issue. They won't. So we do need to get some allyship in the school, with the school workers. You can organize a presentation to other organizations you're part of. We can share this information. You can join as a volunteer. Yeah. So I think if there's time, we just have a 5-minute video, or if you want to share the video, and then that's it. It's okay.
video is available on their website, Whitney was saying, so if you'd like to watch it, I've watched it a couple of times. There's 2 videos to watch. I invite you to, encourage you, not just invite you, but I encourage you to go to their website and watch the videos. They're very moving. I'd like to thank Whitney and Ariana and Diana for speaking this morning with us. This is a big issue, and I'm so glad that they brought it to our attention, and I'm hoping that we can help them out as best we can. Whitney has agreed to stay after the service for, and if you have any questions, you can get a cup of coffee or whatever and come back into the sanctuary for a time of questions and speaking together. Okay. Let's take a breath. And then let's sing a song. This little light of mine. Please rise in body or in spirit to bring our spirits into this place. Let's just take a moment to center ourselves, to reflect on all that we have heard, to think about all that we can do. I invite you to feel your feet on the floor. Feel the chair holding you securely. Can you feel the gravity pulling you, keeping you, supporting you? You can let your muscles go. Allow your body to relax. I invite you to put your attention to your body and kind of scan it to see where there's some tension. And breathe into that tension or wiggle in your chair to release it. And offer a poem. Usually read it 2 or 3 times. This morning I will read it once. Margaret Atwood. The moment. The moment when, after many years of hard work and a long voyage, you stand in the center of your room, house, half-acre, square mile, island, country, knowing at last how you got there, and say, I own this. And that moment is the same moment when the trees unloose their soft arms from around you, the birds take back their language, the cliffs fissure and collapse. The air moves back from you like a wave, and you can't breathe. No, they whisper, you own nothing. You were a visitor, time after time, climbing the hill, planting the flag, proclaiming. We never belonged to you. You never found us. It was always the other way around. Take a moment of silence, and then Karen will bring us out of silence with, how could anyone ever tell you that you are anything less than beautiful? We are all beautiful. And as is our custom, every Sunday we light candles of joy and or concern, those things that happen in our lives that make us human. The stress, the anxiety of living in fear, the rupture in relationships, the joy of a newborn or of a holiday with a loved one. There are so many things going on in our lives. And let us take a moment to acknowledge them by lighting a candle of joy or concern. The tables are open and ready for you. Thank you. As we light the last candles, Jeff will light a last one for all those joys and concerns not yet revealed, we hold close to us, for those online. It is good to be together, isn't it? Take one big breath together, and then we'll sing our closing hymn, Answering the Call of Love. And I think that's what we've been asked to do, isn't it? Answer the call of love. Please rise in body or in spirit to sing our closing hymn, Answering the Call of Love.
I thought she meant me. Okay, it's now time to extinguish the chalice. I ask Diana and Rosemary, Diana and Ariana to come up to extinguish the flame. And I'll read a selection chosen by Rev Rosemary. It's called The Practice of Noticing Continues by Reverend Michelle Collins. Thank you. Our worship ends, but the practice of noticing continues. May you discover treasures hiding in tomorrow's ordinary moments, the warmth of morning coffee, a stranger's kindness, the miracle of lungs that breathe without asking. Go forth, gathering what is already here. So thank you, Ariana and Diana. Rosemary will take over a minute. I just want to mention one thing, though, if you don't mind. We were asked to write to our MLAs. I've been working in another area for the last 7 or 8 years, having to do with children, but not this. And I've often thought that writing to MLAs and elected officials in general is a waste of time. You know, over those last 7 or 8 years, every executive assistant I talk to, every elected official I talk to, they always say something like, oh gee, I really care about your issue, but I don't hear about it. I don't get messages to that effect. And so they tell me that the letters do matter. So if you think that they don't matter, like I thought, maybe it's time to change that opinion. Rosemary?
I'd like to thank everyone here for being here, either in person or online. I'd like to thank everyone that contributed to this service, tech folk, musicians, service leader. Great job, Jeff. Thank you. Whitney and friends. Yeah, it's not etched in my mind yet. I apologize. We are grateful. I am grateful to each and every one of you. Don't forget that Whitney will answer your questions after the service, so give her a minute to catch her breath and get a coffee, and then you can come back in and chat with her. And I offer you now these words of benediction and comfort as we go into our week, until we can meet again to be renewed and refreshed once again. Do not be dismayed by the brokenness of the world. Things break. Yeah, they break. And they can sometimes be mended, but not with time, as they say. It's with intention. So go and love intentionally, and love extravagantly, very extravagantly, and most of all, love intentionally. For the broken world waits in darkness for the love and the light which is within all of us. Go in peace, gentle people. Go in peace. And now I invite you to sing our linking song together. Carry the flame. For those of you that aren't familiar with our ways, we make a weird circle. They're going to make you try to hold hands. You don't have to, and we're going to sing the song that's on the coming up on the screen.